Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to break down the NASCAR Cup Series slate, Kansas Motor Speedway Sunday. Got a big race in NASCAR. It's the first round of the round of 8, or first race of the round of 8. We got 3 races, then we have the Championship 4 race at Phoenix. So only have 4 races left in the season, so a month left in NASCAR, but that's okay. We still got a lot of stuff to break down. But before I get into all the drivers, if you're new to this channel, make sure to leave a like, subscribe on the channel, leave a comment, turn on the notification bell. All that stuff really helps me grow. We've had a lot of growth throughout NASCAR season as it comes to the close. I don't want the growth to stop. I want to keep growing. So let's make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It only takes one little click, 1 second of your time, and it's free. So be sure to do that. If you want to get more of my content, you can always subscribe to my Patreon. For only $10 a month, you are going to get basically this entire spreadsheet with all the stats that you need. You're going to get the whole spreadsheet. There's projections at the end that I don't talk about in the video. I have all my rankings over there. I have all my articles over there, and that's for all 3 series combined. $10 a month: Truck, Xfinity, and Cup Series. And there's only a month left in NASCAR, so if you want to just go pay $10, you're going to get 1 month of all the stats and stuff you need to know for the rest of the season. You can kind of get a preview of what next year would look like, and I'll be adding some more stuff next year as well. So yeah, I'll put the link for that below in the description. But let's get into the players, where we are going to start out with the most expensive driver on the poll, Chase Elliott. Now, Chase Elliott as the most expensive driver, it's a little bit like concerning, I guess. Like, I don't know how much I really want to pay $11,200 for Chase Elliott, but he does have the second best average finish at Kansas. He's run really well here, 9th best at intermediates and 6th best at large ovals. When you go look at laps led, he does only have 93 laps led at Kansas, which, I mean, it is, I think, the 4th most, but compared to some of the other guys we'll talk about, it's just like, I don't know. 825 intermediates, which compared to the rest of the drivers isn't that much, and 277 on large ovals compared to the rest of them isn't a lot. However, in the last 5 races, Chase Elliott has led 239 laps, which is the 3rd most in the entire field, only behind Harvick and Keselowski. So he has been running really, really well. Only has an average finish of 11, though. He's had some rough finishing, and he is coming off a win last week at the Roval, so that, of course, will always help. I think Chase Elliott's fine. He's probably not one of my top options. I mean, starting on the pole, he's going to have that track position pretty early, which is going to be very valuable to him, but I still don't know. Like, I don't think he's going to be the dominator for the whole race. Definitely someone I'm going to have in my dominator pool of drivers, but I wouldn't call him like number 1 guy. Martin Truex Jr. is up next at $11,000, starting 5th. He has the 3rd best average finish at Kansas, the 2nd best at intermediates, and the 3rd best at large ovals. We go look at laps led. He only has 90 at Kansas, but he does have 1,618 at intermediate tracks, which is the 2nd most in the field behind the 3,000 that Kevin Harvick has. And then 815 at the large ovals, which is the 3rd most in the field. So Martin Truex Jr. Does have a lot of experience leading laps here. This is a track where he should do pretty well at, theoretically. In the last 5 races, he has an average finish of 11.8 and 196 laps led. So that's pretty solid. Definitely another driver that I want to have in my dominator pool. I think he is someone who has the upside to dominate this race and win this race. We haven't seen him win a race, I think, in a long time this year. I think Martinsville was the last one. I think it was the only race he won this year. But we've seen him run up front a ton of races this year, lead some laps this year. I think this could be a spot where he breaks down and finally gets that next win that he's going to need to get to the Championship 4. Denny Hamlin, 10,600, starting 7th. He has the 5th best average finish at Kansas, the 6th best at intermediates, and the 7th best at large ovals. When you go look at laps led, he has 210 laps led at Kansas, 1,060 at intermediates, and 393 laps led at large ovals. He also did win this race at Kansas earlier this year, the other Kansas race this year, so that's always going to be help. I expect his ownership to be high. Led a good bit of laps in that race. Was able to track down Byron at the end, who almost pulled off that upset. In the last 5 races, though, Hamlin really didn't run well in the round of 12. Average finish of 12.8 and 186 laps led. I mean, he did win Talladega, but other than that, it wasn't this fantastic running we've seen from him. But he does have 186 laps led in the last 5 races, which is pretty solid. So I do think Denny Hamlin's fine. Definitely has the upside. Definitely good at this track. So Denny Hamlin, another driver I definitely consider in my dominator pool for sure. Kevin Harvick starts 4th at 10,400. He is the 6th best average finish at Kansas, the best at intermediates, and the 2nd best at large ovals. Same story as always for Kevin Harvick at the 1.5 mile tracks. He's just really good at them. Best average position at Kansas and intermediates, and 2nd best at large ovals. When you go look at laps led, he has the most at Kansas, the most at intermediates, and the most at large ovals by a good margin for intermediates and large ovals. 268 to Hamlin's 210 at Kansas isn't really that big of a difference, but Harvick has done very, very well here. He also leads all of them in fastest laps as well, and driver rating. He just dominates this track and these types of tracks. Last 5 races, he's an average finish of 6 and 299 laps led, so he has been running very, very well. I do expect Kevin Harvick to have a good race. I do expect him to be one of the top highest owned drivers, and for someone that is going to have a lot of dominator potential. And he's only the 4th most expensive driver. Like, we're not used to seeing Kevin Harvick at a 1/2 mile track only be the 4th most expensive driver. Like, that's too cheap for him. He should be the most expensive driver, in my opinion. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be. So I'm going to be playing a lot of Kevin Harvick. Would not be surprised to just see him go dominate and win this race, make it pretty easy. So yeah, definitely someone I want to get a ton of exposure to. Brad Keselowski starts 8th at 10,100. He is the 7th best average finish at Kansas, the 5th best at intermediates, and the 8th best at large ovals. When we go look at lap sled, he does only have 70 at Kansas, but he has 1,125 at intermediates and 521 at large ovals. Another guy who could easily dominate this race, but for the most part, I probably wouldn't expect it. I think the 4, honestly, I think Hamlin, Truex, and Harvick probably more likely to lead it. Then I'd say Keselowski and Chase Elliott are pretty close. I think I might take Keselowski over Elliott as more likely dominator of this race. When we go look at last 5 races, though, Brad only has an average finish of 15.4, which really isn't that good, but he does have 283 laps led. I'm pretty sure he's only finished in the top 10 once the entire playoffs, which was his win at Richmond, which that's a little bit concerning for the rest of the season as it goes for Keselowski, but I think he should turn it on here. Usually runs well in the intermediate tracks, so I mean, this is just a spot where I think he should do pretty good. Kyle Busch starts 20th. We haven't seen Kyle Busch starting as far back, all season? $9,900. Kyle Busch has the 11th best average finish at Kansas, the 3rd best at intermediates, and the best at large ovals. When we go look at laps led, he does have 53 laps led at Kansas, 1,575 at intermediate tracks, and 1,105 at the large ovals. It's 2020 for Kyle Busch. Like, he's just not had the year that we've expected from him. When you go look at the last 5 races, he has an average finish of 10.2 and 172 laps led. Most of it's coming at Bristol. I mean, Kyle Busch is just someone that he's fine. He has the upside to finish in the top 5. I mean, it's Kyle Busch. He always has the upside to win. We just haven't seen it this year. But I don't know how much I really want to pay for that when I'd rather just pay up top for the dominators. I mean, there's other place differential plays that I think are fine that I'd rather get to. Ryan Blaney, $9,700, starts 9th. Now, Blaney has a terrible average finish at Kansas, but he has the 3rd best average running position, has had some bad luck with tire issues or just accidents coming at the end of Kansas races that have not helped him to finish well. So he has run well at these tracks, but not getting the finishes that we'd like to see from him. He has the 10th best average finish at intermediates and 12th best at large ovals. When you go look at lap sled, he has 80 at Kansas, 641 at intermediates, and 507 at large ovals. But the thing for Ryan Blaney is he just has not been running well as of late. Average finish of 13.6 and only 15 laps led. I'm probably going to avoid Ryan Blaney. If he was starting farther back, I think I'd like him. But he's run well here. He's led laps here, but he just has not been running well, and I just don't see any reason that changes, especially if him not really being in the playoffs anymore. So I don't think that's really a spot I want to get to. Joey Logano starts 2nd, $9,500. Now, Logano only has the 14th best average finish at Kansas, but he does have the 4th best average finish at intermediates and the 5th best at large ovals. But unlike Ryan Blaney, where he has a bad average finish but a good average running position, Joey Logano doesn't. He only has the 13th best average position at Kansas. For whatever reason, Kansas has just not been a good track for him, and I don't think it's going to really change this week. We go look at lap sled. He does have 137 at Kansas, but I still, the finishing is definitely concerning. He has 1,109 at intermediates and 609 at large ovals. When we go look at the last 5 races, he's an average finish of 6.6, which is, I believe, the 2nd best in the field. It might actually be the best. No, 2nd. Yeah, Kevin Harvick is 6th. Yeah, okay. And 46 laps led. He hasn't really been leading a ton of laps this year overall anyway, and especially recently. So, I mean, he does start on the pole. I wouldn't be surprised to see him take the early lead from Chase Elliott. It's going to be one of those two. I would honestly put my money on Chase Elliott to get that early lead, but I think both of them are fine. I think Logano's fine at 9,500. No one's going to play him, I'll tell you that much. He's always low owned, so he's going to be low owned this week as well. So I mean, I think he's fine, but I probably won't get there. I'll probably look towards, for me, my dominator pool is honestly probably going to consist of Chase, Truex, Hamlin, Harvick, Keselowski, and that's probably about it. I probably won't go to anywhere else looking for dominators. Maybe Alex Bowman. We'll talk about him in a minute, but outside of that, I just think that's really the spot to go to. Jimmy Johnson, $9,200, starting 14th. I don't really want to get there. 15th best average finish at Kansas, 16th at intermediates, and 15th at large ovals over the last 2 years. When we go look at laps led, he has 0 at Kansas, only 172 at intermediates, and 153 at large ovals. In the last 5 races, he has an average finish at 18 and 0 laps led. he's too expensive for where he's starting, so I don't want to get there. If he was cheaper, I mean, I'd consider it, but he's just way too expensive. William Byron starts 10th, and William Byron almost won this race earlier this year. If there wasn't a caution, he might have won that race. There wasn't a caution at the end. He just got blown by Hamlin and Harvick on the last restart. So that was really it for him. But overall, he really hasn't been that great here. 20th best average finish at Kansas, only 19th at intermediates and 17th at large ovals. When you go look at lap slate, he does have 32 at Kansas. That was earlier this year. 166 at intermediates and 118 at large ovals. In the last 5 races, William Byron has an average finish of 19th and 39 laps led. I mean, he's okay. I think no one's going to play him, and he has potential to finish in the top 5 because he's William Byron. And honestly, he's been running well recently, just hasn't been getting the finishes. I mean, in my opinion, I think he probably should have made it out around 16 if he didn't get wrecked at Bristol. I think he probably should have moved on another round, but he got caught up in an accident. That wasn't his fault at all. But he's probably not the spot to go to. So just starts too high, $9,000 is a little bit expensive. I mean, no one's going to play him. No one's going to be on him. And if he ends up being a potential dominator and finishes inside that top 5, then that's going to be really high. But, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. Clint Bowyer, $8,800 starting 12th. He has a 10th best average finish at Kansas. This is his home track. So if you'd like to play the narrative thing, Clint Bowyer retiring at the end of the year, home track, he comes down and ends this thing with a win. Yeah, you can go for that, but he honestly, I mean, this isn't really a track that's been great for him. Again, 10th best average finish at Kansas, 14th at intermediates, 14th at large ovals. When you go look at lap sled, he has 12 at Kansas, 346 at intermediates, and 232 at large ovals. In the last 5 races, he's an average finish of 9.6 and 9 laps led. Like, I just don't think he's got really a lot of upside to go up anywhere. He'll probably end up finishing with a top 10. That's what he usually does this year. But that's really about it. Like, I mean, if he gets up inside a top 5, he's going to end up being a really good play. So sneaky upside, but probably less likely to hit it. Alex Bowman starts 6th at $8,600. Alex Bowman's been a guy all year. I've just been like, yeah, I mean, he's always like low-key a dominator potential. He doesn't really hit it that much, but he can do it. 9th best average finish at Kansas, 13th at intermediates, and 13th at large ovals. When you go look at lap sled, he does have 76 at Kansas, 601 at intermediates, and 512 at large ovals. And the thing that makes me like Alex Bowman as a potential dominator is in this range of drivers, the only other 2 that come close to lap sled at intermediate are Kurt Busch and Eric Almirola, who have not been leading laps as of late. I mean, Kurt Busch did at Vegas, but that was only because of a late race pit stop strategy. It's not like he was out front dominating. Alex Bowman has that potential to get up front and dominate. He does have 512 at large ovals, and compared to these 2's large oval stats, that's a lot better. So I think Alex Bowman has some sneaky upside here. He's still in the playoffs. He's been running really well as of late. I mean, if you go look at the last 5 races, an average finish at 8.8, only 8 laps led, but I don't think we've really been to a track where he's going to lead a ton of laps. I mean, yeah, he's really good to road courses. We saw that last week, but I don't think he ever led a lap at the Roval. So I think Alex Bowman's sneaky. I think he's going to be someone I am going to play in my dominator pool, just probably a lot less of than the other guys, but I would not be surprised to see him go dominate this race and potentially win. So Alex Bowman, definitely someone to keep on your radar. Eric Jones starts 11th, 8,400. Now, Eric Jones has the best average finish at Kansas over the last 2 years. Yeah, the best. That's a little shocking. He always seems to find a way to finish inside that top 5. Average finish of 5.2. I believe only once in the last 2 years he hasn't finished in the top 5 at Kansas. And he hasn't, but at other intermediates, only 11th best average finish and 9th at large ovals. But it's not like he's just been like finishing well. He's been running well. 4th best average position at Kansas as well. Like, he just finds a way to run around the front during these races. So that's very good to see. He hasn't led a lap here though, which is fine. We're not paying for a dominator down there. But he does have 222 at intermediates and 112 at large ovals. So the upside is there. He can hit it. Probably won't hit it, but he can. When you go look at the last 5 races, Eric Jones has an average finish at 8, and he's been running very, very well. We've seen him. I mean, he's looking for a ride next year, and honestly, Eric Jones has kind of been running well all year. It just seems like a lot of bad luck and stuff has happened that has ruined his finishes and stuff. He's just not having that anymore, and he's running inside the top 5. They had a top 5 at Roval last week, had a top 5 at Talladega. He's been running pretty well, so I think Eric Jones is definitely someone who is definitely something I'm going to want to play, just because I think he has the top 5 upside. Like I said, I've said it with Bowyer, I've said it with Byron now. I'm probably about to say with Kurt Busch. They all have that top 5 upside, but Eric Jones has hit it. Seems more likely to hit it than the rest of them, just by the way he's been running as of late and the way he's run this track in the past. So I think Eric Jones is a very good play, and I don't think a lot of people are really going to play him because he starts 11th and he's 8,400. He's not too cheap, so people will probably look for more place differential guys that we'll get to in a minute to stack with the dominators, but Eric Jones is kind of in this mid-range zone where he's going to kind of probably be lower owned. Kurt Busch starts third at 8,200. I don't really know if I want to go to Kurt Busch starting third. Has the 8th best average finish at Kansas, 7th best at intermediates, and 4th at large ovals. Only 7 laps led at Kansas, but he does have 558 at intermediates and 313 at large ovals. We haven't really seen Kurt Busch be a dominator this year. He has 49 laps led in the last 5 races and an average finish at 8.2. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we haven't really seen Kurt Busch be a dominator this year. He led a bunch of laps at Vegas, but that was because of a pit strategy, and then the race that got him up front, and there was really no one to contend with him. It was like Matt Benedetto and some other guys that just weren't as fast as him. And then the other guys almost ran him down at the end. I mean, Hamlin almost ran him down to beat him at the end of that race. So it's not like Kurt Busch has really been a guy that's going to dominate these races. So probably not someone I'm going to get to. It just starts way too high. I mean, he might finish around there, but that's probably really not going to be too much of a, unless he leads laps, it's probably not going to be a great spot to go to. Eric Almirola starts 16th at $8,000. Almirola has the 12th best average finish at Kansas, 8th at intermediates, and 11th at large ovals. When you go look at the laps led, zero laps led at Kansas, but 496 at intermediates and 351 at large ovals. The upside's there, but again, we haven't seen Eric Almirola hit the upside recently. Only 1 lap led in the last 5 races with an average finish of 11th. He can get up inside the top 10, top 5. I'll probably get some Eric Almirola, but probably not a lot. Just not someone who is that high of an upside pick to me. Same thing with Tyler Reddick. 13th best average finish at Kansas, 12th at intermediates, and 10th at large ovals. When you go look at the last 5 races for Tyler Reddick, he has an average finish of 17.6. Has really not been running too well ever since the playoffs started. So I don't really expect a lot from him. I think he's fine. He could finish inside the top 5, but I think it's pretty unlikely for that to happen. Matthew Benedetto, 7,700, starting 18th, has a horrible average finish at Kansas, 28th. But, I mean, he only has 1 race in the 21 car at Kansas. Like, he's been racing at 95 last year and another car the year before, where that equipment just wasn't that good. So that's really not something I really want to look for Matty Benedetto. I'm going to go show you later down in here. We're going to go look at the 2020 intermediates for Matty Benedetto. He's an average finish of 14.58 at intermediate tracks this year, and at the large ovals has an average finish of 16.55. So I usually don't go into that for the videos, but I want to show that for Matty Benedetto. The last 5 races has an average finish of 16.2. He's fine. I mean, he'll probably finish inside the top 15. That's usually what he does at this point. Maybe inside the top 10. And, I mean, every once in a while we see Benedetto hit this top 5 upside. So, I mean, I usually play him just because that upside's there, but probably not going to get a ton of him. Don't think he's, like, a fantastic play. Austin Dillon, $7,500, starts 17th. He has the 17th best average finish at Kansas, the 15th at intermediates, and the 16th at large ovals. When we go look at the last 5 races, average finish of 13.8 and 55 laps led. We're not really expecting Austin Dillon to lead a ton of laps here. I am once again going to go show you this year for the intermediates, because Austin Dillon's been pretty good at the intermediate tracks this year. Average finish of 14th and 72 laps led, and then large ovals an average finish of 15 and 22 laps led. He's been running pretty well at these tracks this year. He even got a win at Texas, although once that was kind of like Kurt Busch's win, where it was just pit strategy that got him up front and nobody could pass him, because this year, like, you just can't pass. So, Austin Dillon, I think he's fine. I think he could get up inside the top 5, get up inside the top 10. Another guy that has some upside that I'll probably get some exposure to, but probably not someone I want a ton of. Just kind of a sneaky guy. Ricky Snaus Jr. starts 23rd, $7,400. He has the 19th best average finish at Kansas, 21st at intermediates, and 22nd at large ovals. When you go look at the last 5 races for Stenhouse, an average finish of 23.4. It's really not what I'm looking for. I don't really think he's going to get up inside that top 15, which is kind of what I need to get from him. So probably going to be someone I avoid. Christopher Bell's another one who's just been running horribly. $7,200 starting 22nd. 23rd best average finish at Kansas, 23rd at intermediates, and 18th at large ovals. Last 5 races for him, he has an average finish of 25th. That's really not good at all, so I don't really want to get to that. That I don't think he just has any upside. Cole Custer, though, I think is fine. $7,000. I don't think a lot of people are going to play him because he starts 13th. And he's in a range where a lot of guys, no one else is starting, only one other driver in this range is starting lower than 20th. So Cole Custer starts 13th. He finished 7th at Kansas earlier this year, had a really good run, 3rd best average finish. 17th at intermediates and 20th at large ovals isn't really fantastic. But in the last 5 races, he has an average finish of 14.8, which is a lot better than pretty much everyone else in this range. So he can finish inside the top 10. We've seen him have that upside all year. I think he's someone that just play for upside. Don't want to touch him in cash games. But GBP is definitely someone to get a little bit of ownership to. Bubba Wallace has been horrible as of late, and he's really not been good at Kansas either. 31st best average finish here. In the last 5 races for Bubba, he has an average finish of 27. So I'm not going to play Bubba. He just has not been running well at all. Chris Buescher is always someone I like to maybe get a little bit of exposure to every single race. He starts 21st. 20th best average finish at Kansas. 20th best at intermediates and 19th at intermediate tracks, or 19th at large ovals. He has an average finish of 17.4 in the last 5 races as well. Chris Buescher is always someone who kind of has that top 10 upside that rarely hits it, but he's probably going to finish, somewhere between like 15th and 20th, and so it's not going to hurt you at 6,700, and with the possibility to get like a 12th place finish is going to be really valuable there. So I think Chris Buescher is a good guy to go to. Matt Kenseth starts 30th at 6,600, 29th best average finish at Kansas, 22nd at intermediates, and 23rd at large ovals. When you go look at the last 5 races for him, he has an average finish of 21.6. I don't really like playing Matt Kenseth, but he starts 30th. He can't, someone who probably can't really hurt you unless he wrecks out. Should at least get a top 25, could end up with a top 20 by the end of the night, so definitely someone to get some exposure to. He's in decent equipment in Chip Ganassi Racing, although they're probably giving their best equipment to Kurt Busch right now, and Kenseth's just kind of getting the scraps, but I do think he's still fine, starting 30th. Ryan Newman starts 28th, and I think I'm just done playing Ryan Newman for the year. 30th best average finish at Kansas, 18th at intermediates, though, and 21st at large ovals is pretty solid. When you go look at the last 5 races for him, he has an average finish of 21.8, which is fine, but I don't really want to get there. I'd rather just play Kenseth starting 2 spots higher, or 2 spots lower, I guess. Or is that higher? Higher or lower, whatever you want to say. He starts 30th, and he starts 28th, and he's only $100 more. I'd rather just get to Kenseth. Ryan Preece, $6,300, starting 19th. Ryan Preece's actually been running pretty solid recently. Last 5 races, he's an average finish of 15.8. So he's sneaky. I don't think a lot of people are going to play him, but he's sneakily good here. Someone who's sneaky good who could end up having a top 15 run again, and would not be surprising to see him in the optimal line. I doubt he's going to be a top 10 car, but if he gets 12th through 15th, he's going to be a really good play, and no one's going to play him. Jonah Nemechek starts 32nd. He had a 19th place finish here earlier this year, so that was pretty solid to see. In the last 5 races for Jonah Nemechek, though, only an average finish of 28.4. We know what Jonah Nemechek does. It's either wreckers or checkers at this point for him, but not really checkers in a sense. He's like going to win or finish in the top 5. He's either wrecking or he's like going to end up 18th to 25th, I would say, is the range. So at $6,100, I don't mind paying for that. He's definitely someone going to have exposure to. Just be sure and know that he wrecks a lot, and the opportunity for him to wreck is really high at Kansas. This is a track that surprisingly ends up with a lot of accidents, so Jonah Nemechek definitely someone I want to get some exposure to. He's a tournament play only. I don't want to touch him in cash. I know he starts far back. I'd rather play Kenseth in cash. I think he's safer than Jonah Nemechek, so yeah. Ty Dillon starts 25th at $5,900. In the last 5 races for Ty Dillon, he has an average finish of 24.4, so I don't really want to get there. It just doesn't really seem like he's got any spot to move up. Michael Mcdowell starts 26th. Michael Mcdowell is too cheap in my opinion at $5,700. 22nd best average finish here isn't really that bad. 26th at intermediates and 24th for large ovals is pretty bad though. But he has an average finish of 20.8 in the last 5 races, which is pretty solid. So I think Michael McDowell should be able to pay off that salary pretty easily. You should get at least a top 25 and probably, if there's wrecks, get a top 20. So I think that's a fine spot to get to him. Daniel Suarez, $5,600, starting 27th. In the last 5 races, has an average finish of 26.8. He ain't moving up anywhere. Same thing with Corey LaJoie. He has an average finish of 30.8 in the last 5 races, so I'm probably not going to touch either of those two. But I think that's really all I got to say on this video. Hope you guys really enjoyed watching it. Hope you guys got a lot of good information out of it to make the right plays. I think it's probably going to be a Stars and Scrubs weekend. Usually the 1.5 mile tracks seem to be that, but don't sleep on some of these mid-range guys like Jones, Bowman, Matthew Benedetto. Don't sleep on these guys. They have some sneaky upside that I would be willing to throw into some live stream playing tournaments. But make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, leave a comment. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Make sure to check out the Truck Series and Xfinity Series video to make some money on that, and hopefully we'll make some money in Cup Series and NFL this weekend.